Hey folks, Alex here, back again for, as promised, my top 10 albums of 2012 list. I just wanted to do a quick video on this, just kind of summarizing the year, going back and putting my favorite albums that I've heard this year in some kind of order, and just kind of ranking them 1 to 10. So I'm going to go ahead and do a top 10 list today. Of course, we've just had Christmas. I hope you guys had a merry one. I had a great Christmas here in England. As always, we normally have a pretty good time, but this year I think it was extra special. It was a bit different than usual, but it was a really nice one. So yeah, I hope you guys in the VC have had a great Christmas, and I hope you have a great New Year. I wanted to get this done before 2013 obviously comes to us, just a few days away from 2013 now, and looking back at 2012, it's really been, I think, a very good year for music, for the music industry. We've had some amazing albums released this year, from a great diversity of genres, lots of different styles, lots and lots of different artists, people coming back after long spells away from the music industry and releasing albums like, Bruce Springsteen, Bill Fay, Swans, Godspeed You Black Emperor, and then on top of that you've got all these new artists coming through and releasing really interesting stuff too. So yeah, I think it's been a great year for music. I think, in my opinion, probably slightly better as an overall whole than 2011, but that's just my opinion. I think this year I probably listened to more newer releases. I think last year, because of getting involved in the VC and stuff, I kind of, I discovered a lot of music, but a lot of it was older stuff and, music from years gone by. This year I've really focused in on listening to new stuff as well as the old stuff, and just trying to get, a greater understanding of where music has been and where it's going in the future. So yeah, it's been a great year. It was tough to compile this list, just to condense it down to 10. Going to start off with a few notable mentions, a few notable albums which didn't quite make the list, but nonetheless, showed me some great stuff this year. First one, Frank Ocean, Channel Orange. Of course, Frank Ocean released this album earlier in the year. It's been in many people's lists. It's certainly probably my favourite R&B album of the year. I guess you could call it R&B. It's very soulful music. I'd say this is kind of like the ultimate easy listening album for this year. It's a really pleasant listen, and I think he's done a great job on just everything with this album. The lyrics, the instrumentation, everything is very nice. So great album there. Second of all, Death Grips, No Love Deep Web, their second album of the year. They've had a busy year. Again, great stuff from Death Grips. Bad Bad Not Good, and we got BBNG2. I don't think these guys can go wrong at the moment. They put out 2 albums now, and both of them have been just absolutely fantastic. Just kind of reinterpreting, kind of hip hop numbers, and just other songs, and kind of giving them their own flavour, kind of jazzing them up a bit, and it's really nice to see. Next, Bruce Springsteen, of course, Wrecking Ball, which came out this year. Again, great to see Bruce back at his best, in my opinion, or close to his best. I think this was a great release from him, very solid record. And finally, of the notable mentions, Portigo Quartet, which I know Anthony Fantano, The Needle Drop, I think he put them in his top 10, maybe even his top 5 albums of the year, their self-titled release. And after seeing that, I went back and listened to it, and yeah, really impressive, very delicate music, very beautiful, great to listen to, again, quite easy to listen to, and just some great kind of electronic music from them. So those are the notable mentions. There were tons more I could have put on there, and to be quite honest, could have made the top 10, but I had to narrow it down, and these are just my, in my opinion, my top 10 favourite albums of 2012. So I start with number 10, and we start off with a bit of a legend, a bit of an oldie, I guess, in Bill Fay, and of course his album this year, Life is People, which he released a few months ago. And wow, this album just blew me away. I mean, last year I was introduced to Bill Fay. I think Jeff Recordman got me started on him, and I listened to his first two albums. He only released two albums back in the 70s, and just the brilliance of them kind of blew me away. And then I discovered this year that he was dropped by his record label, I think, and back in the 70s, and hence he kind of went into seclusion for best part of 40 years without releasing much music. And this year he's picked back up by, I think it was Dead Oceans Records, I'm not sure, but yeah, and released this incredibly moving, reflective album, Life is People. And I think it definitely deserves a place on my top 10. He came back with a real blast this year, so well done to Bill Fay. Moving down to number 9, we have a Big Crit, Forever in a Day, the first hip-hop album of the list. Yeah, and I guess I can credit Big Crit for kind of getting me into hip-hop this year. I mean, I listened to his mixtape last year, Return of Forever, of course, and was impressed by that, but it didn't blow me away. I was kind of left wanting a little bit more from him. So this year I picked up Forever in a Day. I think it was a free download, and it just blew all of my expectations out of the water. Really, really enjoyable release. Kind of a southern hip hop tinge to it, but some great flows, some great beats, and some very deep and moving lyrics came together to create just a wonderful concept album for Big Crit, and I think it's definitely his best of the year, even though he went on to release his first major label record, Live from the Underground, which is also very good, but I think this one just kind of topped it for me. Right, so moving on to number 8, we have The Tallest Man on Earth, There's No Leaving Now, his album from this year. Many people kind of comparing it to some of the previous albums that he's released, albums like The Wild Hunt, which came out last year, and I for one think he's kind of stepped it up this year. I think he kind of took his game to a whole new level. After listening to this album, I kind of went back and listened to The Wild Hunt and previous albums, and as good as they are, I think I think he's taken it to a new level. These songs are very tuneful. The lyrics are pretty good, pretty solid. I've always been a huge fan of his voice. I think he's got a terribly emotive voice. And yeah, just struck a real emotional chord with me this year. I still find myself playing it from time to time, and the songs really stayed with me. So yeah, kudos to The Tallest Man on Earth for putting out another very, very solid album this year, coming in at number 8. Moving on to 7, we have Alt J, An Awesome Wave. This is an album that kind of came from nowhere. I wasn't really expecting this from them. I hadn't really heard about them too much before this, and then I saw the Needle Drop review this album and give it a rave review. So I went and checked it out, listened to it, thought it was amazing. And then all of a sudden it won the Mercury Prize here in the UK. I start hearing it all over the radio, and it just kind of exploded, got really big. So I think rightfully so. I mean, compared to some of the other kind of mainstream pop music out there, I think this definitely deserves the popularity that it's getting. And yeah, I think Alt J did an amazing job with this album. They haven't been together too long. They're still in the kind of early stages of their career, and it'd be good to see where they go next. But this was a great album, An Awesome Wave. Loved pretty much every song on this. They harmonize beautifully. Just some great melodies, some touching lyrics. Just a very cohesive, solid album in general. So yeah, well done to them. At number 6, we have the second hip hop album of the list. We have Killer Mike's Rap Music, and this is one for me that really, I think, a kind of game-changing hip-hop album this year. I love hip-hop albums, or albums in general, that kind of can kind of throw a curveball at you, kind of take you by surprise, and take a genre you thought was quite static in a whole new direction. And that's what a lot of hip hop has done for me this year. But this album kind of displayed that wonderfully. Killer Mike, put out a very socially conscious album, I think. Songs like Reagan and Don't Die particularly were very, politically and socially fueled, I think. And he, teamed up with LP on this, and I think it's a killer combination, no pun intended. What they've done with this, Killer Mike's obviously very powerful, punchy vocals and lyrics, and then LP kind of coming behind him with some very, very nice beats and flows and instrumentation. So very, very solid, very thoughtful and thought-provoking music from Killer Mike with rap music. So that's why it has the number 6 spot. Moving on, we have a number 5 now. Getting into the top 5, we have Beach House with Bloom. Again, like The Tallest Man on Earth, I think they kind of took it to a new level, even though some people thought that it was kind of similar to Teen Dream and other albums. I thought it was amazing, and I thought, the very, very melodic songs, just straight up dream pop, just great, catchy, melodic tunes, and some great lyrics too. So Beach House at number 5. Into the top 4. At 4 we have Kendrick Lamar's Good Kid, Mad City. Probably my favourite kind of conventional hip-hop album this year. Yeah, just an incredible concept from Kendrick. I think a whole lot better than Section 80. Even though I love Section 80 from last year, I don't think it kind of came together and kind of held together like this album did for me. I think this, the concept was very, very well done with Good Kid, Mad City. Added a whole lot to the album and the feel of it, and the kind of the emotions of it, and the concept was really the defining feature of this. And I think Kendrick Lamar and Dr. Dre and everyone that was involved in this did an incredible job on it. So Good Kid, Mad City just took me on a journey this year. Been playing it constantly for weeks now, and I don't see any time where I'm going to stop playing it, because it's a thoroughly enjoyable listen, and hence why it has the number 4 spot. Right, at number 3 on the list we have, probably unsurprisingly, we have Bob Dylan's Tempest, released earlier this year, I think back in September. And I think with this album, Dylan just simply showed that he's still got it. He's still got the capacity to write amazing songs, compile a great album, and still has that amazing songwriting and storytelling ability that he's always had. And I think this was a perfect display of that. Some classic tracks on here, some kind of typical Dylan tracks that kind of spark up so many emotions and so many images in my mind. Songs like Tempest, kind of telling the story of the sinking of the Titanic from a different set of eyes. It's very interesting, very engaging, and I just absolutely loved it. So that got the number 3 spot. Number 2 on the list. It was tough to pick between 2 and 1 here. It was tough to order these top 2. But at number 2 we have Swans, The Seer. I showed this one back in August. Had the vinyl, and wow, I mean, these guys just came through this year with an absolute banger of an album. Michael Gira just takes you on an epic journey through his mind, and through just darkness and bitterness, and just a whirlwind of different emotions spring up when you're listening to this. It's 2 hours long. You've got to have some patience, but boy is it worth it. It's just an amazing epic listen, and I would seriously recommend it to anybody who hasn't heard it yet. And I think it can only really be topped by my number 1 on the list. And I think for me this has been a kind of genre-defining album, and probably my favourite since the turn of the decade, and just an absolute radical release, beyond anything I expected from this year. Something I could have heard 10 years down the line and not been surprised to hear. So Number one on my list, of course, is Death Grips, the Money Store, the first album that they released this year, and boy did they pull it off. After releasing Ex-Military last year, some people thought that they didn't really have anywhere to go with it. They'd taken it, kind of to its extreme. They've taken hip hop to its extreme. But with the Money Store, they proved that they can, produce a better album. I think it had better production than Ex-Military, and just a tremendous variety of different tracks, from upbeat, punchy, dancey tracks to more heavy, dark, twisted tracks, to just hugely aggressive and forthcoming tracks that just blew me away. It absolutely did. Every single song on the Money Store was taken to the absolute extreme, amazingly produced, and I think Zach Hill and MC Ride are a killer combination, and I think they've got a long way to go. I think they're still in the kind of early stages of their career, and I think Death Grips can go a whole lot further, and I really hope that they do, because the Money Store is just a mind-blowing achievement. So yeah, that's pretty much my top 10 albums of 2012, guys. It was tough to put them in order. There was so many more that I could have mentioned that didn't quite make the cut, but in general it's just been an amazing year for music, and I can't wait for 2013. I think, expecting more of the same. Some great stuff on the horizon for a lot of bands and artists, and I think it's going to be a great year. As you can see, I had quite a few hip hop albums dotted in there in my top 10, and it's just been one of those years where I've got hooked on hip hop, and it's really kind of shaped my listening this year. But who knows what next year will bring? I hope it's the same, and I hope you guys enjoy it as much as I do. But yeah, that's my list. I'll be back soon with some more videos, hopefully, over the next few days. Don't count on that, but yeah, I might well be back with a few videos, and yeah, just put some more content up for you guys over Christmas, over the Christmas holidays. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Mention in the comments what some of your favourite albums were, if you're not going to do a list. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.